Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be doing Geography Paper 1. This is Glacial Landscapes, let's get into it. There are 4 types of moraine: ground, lateral, medial and terminal. So ground moraine is when the material dragged under the glacier is left behind when the ice melts, and it often forms uneven, hilly ground. Lateral moraine is the moraine forms at the edges of a glacier, and it's mostly made up of scree. The medial moraine is when a tributary glacier joins the main glacier, and 2 lateral moraines will merge together to produce a single line of sediment that runs down the centre of the main glacier. And then terminal moraine is huge amounts of material pile up at the snout of a glacier to form a high ridge, the furthest extent of the glacial advance. And then drumlins are smooth egg-shaped hills found in clusters on the floor of a glacial trawl. These are made of moraine that has been streamlined and shaped by the moving ice. Erratics are large boulders that is out of place and transported by a glacier to the place they are. So economic opportunities in glaciated areas. This could be a 6 marker. So for farming, upland areas are used for grazing because soils are acidic, so they don't use them for like crops. And then soils and valleys are thicker due to deposition. And then the flat-bottomed glaciated trails are ideal for using machinery. And then finally, the lowland areas covered by a thick layer of till, and because of that they are very fertile, because till makes the soil fertile. And then for forestry, upland glaciated areas are suitable for forestry, and for an example of that is conifer trees are well adapted to cope with the acidic soils in the upland areas. And then quarrying. So in upland areas, upland glaciated areas, they're made up of hard, resistant rock. This can be quarried and crushed to provide stone used in construction industry. Also, limestone is something that could be found there. From the lower areas, sand and gravel is also a valuable construction material, and it is found from glacial deposits. So tourism, the uplands provide opportunities for tourism, as there is many specular glacial scenery attractions that will attract many tourists. And tourism also provides jobs for thousands in upland areas. Okay, so now these are the definitions that you are required to know. So freeze thaw, the first one, helps to shape jagged glacial mountain landscapes. Rocks become weakened by freeze thaw, making it easier for them to be eroded by glaciers. Abrasion is the weight of ice scraping the valley floor. Abrasion leaves a smooth, polished surface. Scratches caused by large rocks beneath the ice can often be seen. So plucking is just the opposite of abrasion, as it leaves a jagged surface, and it's when meltwater beneath a glacier freezes and bonds the base of the glacier to the rocky surface. And then as the glacier moves, the loose fragments of rock will be plucked away. Corries, they are upper slopes of glaciated valleys. They are characterized by a steep back wall and a raised lip at the front. And then an arête forms when erosion in 2 back-to-back corries causes the land in between to become narrower. And it's also just a knife-edged ridge found at the back of a quarry. And then glaciated trawl is just a steep-sided, wide and flat-bottomed valley formed by abrasion, which will leave this like smooth surface, if you remember. And then truncated spurs are unable to flow around the existing interlocking spurs. The glacier cuts straight through them, forming steep-edged truncated spurs. And then the last 2. So hanging valleys are smaller tributary valleys above the main glacial trawl, So the smaller glaciers in these valleys were unable to erode down to the same level as the main glacier. Finally, we've got ribbon lakes, and they are just long, narrow lakes, and they are caused from severe erosion of the glacial trough. So finally, we have tourism in the Lake District. This could be a 9 marker or a 6 marker, and you definitely need to cover it. It's a good example to use. So first we have physical attractions. So things like Lake Winmere and Ullswater offer water sports, cruises and fishing. Adventure activities, for example, gorge scrambling, rock climbing, they're also very popular. For cultural or historical attractions, this landscape has inspired many writers as well as poets. Beatrix Potter also lived very close to Lake Winmere. Her home is now a National Trust attraction and attracts many tourists seeking that. And then there are also many incredibly scenic towns and villages all around this area. Now we move on to the impact of tourism. So for the social aspects, in 2014, 14.8 million tourists visited the Lake District. 89% of those visitors arrived by car, creating road congestion. So, and in the Lake District, house prices are incredibly high. They're through the roof right now because of all the tourists and everything. And then jobs in tourism are mostly seasonal. They're poorly paid and very unreliable. In 2014, tourists spent nearly 1 billion in the Lake District. This fueled shops, little businesses, just genuinely helping the public. And then for employment, there was many people that were employed in shops, hotels, and other businesses. New businesses, for example, jobs in adventurous tourism, provide even more jobs for the locals. And then traffic congestion slows down business communications. Because all the roads are clogged up, and it takes longer for people to get to place. For environmental, for example, footpath erosion or litter on trails. Fume pollution from vehicles pollutes ecosystems, as I said before about the traffic congestion, so that's a pretty big issue. And then walkers damage farmland, meanwhile trampling crops and stuff. And also dogs startle sheep and cattle, and when these animals or farm animals are startled like this, it often means that they don't end up having children, which can lose the farmers a lot of money. Okay, so managing tourism in the Lake District. So first we have traffic improvements. So several dual carriageways have been built around the Lake District to improve access. Transport hubs help to relieve congestion elsewhere. Park and ride bus schemes for the tourists to reduce the congestion even more. Traffic calming measures, for example, speed bumps. The local government has also repaired the paths, created new steps, and resurfaced paths with local stone and replaced native paths along all the trails that the Lake District has to provide. So there we go. That is the whole of the glaciated landscapes topic. I hope you do well in your test tomorrow, and thank you for watching.